which 2-0 team are you most impressed with, and which 0-2 team are you most concerned about? Now, for me, I picked the team in the AFC and the NFC. The two teams that are 2-0 that I'm most impressed with, the Buffalo Bills manhandled the Rams and the Titans. I think they're the best team in the football right now. And then the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles. They beat the Lions. The concern was their defense. Then they were great defensively against the Vikings. Jalen Hurts showed out. I'm looking at the Eagles, and right now, I think they're the most complete team in the NFC.
You're not gonna name. You're just naming those two.
I'm just naming those two.
Okay, for me, we might have identical answers. For me, it's obviously the Buffalo Bills. I think everybody is probably gonna say that. I've been on this train for a minute. I thought they was gonna be the best team in the league. I kept telling you about Josh Allen. He's been fucking amazing. He's been incredible. So I think the Bills, the way they've dominated on defense, they've been elite. Von Miller has been setting the tone for them. The secondary has been great. And then offensively, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, probably the best, if not the best, one of the best quarterback receiver duo in the league. Stephon Diggs is making a statement. He's also, I feel like people haven't been talking about him as much, but he's been putting on the fucking show.
Best wide receiver in the game.
You can make that argument. He's been playing amazing back-to-back weeks. For me, of course, my Eagles on the other side against the Lions. That Lions win looks a lot better because they look impressive. Offensively, we got it going. Defensively, in week 2, we showed out. The defense came to play. The defensive line was amazing. The secondary was fucking incredible. Avonte Maddox making that interception was dope. He's been mid for the most part, but he played amazing that game. And I think the secondary just showed improvements. So those have been the best two teams in the league for me.
He's a cheat code to Madden. He has a 96 speed.
Fucking for real.
Avonte Maddox. Yeah.
So the obvious answer.
Speed is really all that matters in Madden. That's just
really
crazy.
That's been like that for years. So the obvious answer is the Buffalo Bills. They've been the most impressive team by far. They look dominant on both sides of the ball. The pass rushes look great. The secondaries look fantastic. The run stop has looked fantastic, where they held Derrick Henry to under 2 yards a carry. I believe it was 1.7 yards a carry off the top of my head. They've been dominant, absolutely. You mentioned the Eagles, another team that you got to look at, and you got to give credit where credit is due. The number one offense right now. They've been fantastic. But a team that I have to give credit where credit is due is the Miami Dolphins. Absolutely. Game 1 against New England, that was a win that I was expecting. But to come out with the W against the Ravens down 21, like we just went on a plethora of tangents earlier on in the show, you can't overlook a thing like that. The defense looked sloppy, but in the fourth quarter, they got it together. They put the offense in a position where all they had to do was their job, and the offense did exactly that. So, of course, you have to look at the Dolphins and think that they've been one of the most impressive 2-0 teams.
We've been saying it's to its own.
You guys mentioned the Bills, so I won't say them. The Chiefs have also been fantastic start off the year. Dominated the Cardinals week 1. Maybe got a little lucky week 2 against the Chiefs. Some dropped interceptions, a pick 6 to win the game.
Chargers.
But hey, against the Chargers. But you get a division win against the Chargers. You'll take that. Don't think twice about it. The two other teams, though, the Dolphins and Eagles. I look at these teams very similar, that both had questions at quarterback. Both brought in star wide receivers to elevate this offense. And as of right now, both of these teams, specifically their offenses, have looked fantastic. I think if you're an Eagles fan, if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, you have to feel really good about your quarterback, about your coaching. I do feel a little bit better about the Eagles defense right now than Miami's. But Miami has a chance against Buffalo this week to make a statement.
To be fair,
What?
Eagles defense looked pretty poopy against the Lions.
It was just that fourth quarter.
No,
It was the
Dolphins.
It was the secondary. I mean, the defensive line.
Them clamping up the Vikings,
Very impressive.
It takes away
Good
everything
point.
that happened versus Detroit,
Good point.
in my opinion.
Good point.
The defensive line.
Yeah,
It took some
shout
time.
out to the Giants, too, for being 2-0. Shout out to them.
I mean, I think that we knew that. But to me, I wasn't going to mention them as the most impressive because their wins was against Tennessee, who right now looking like one of the worst teams. Let's be honest. They've looked like trash. And the Panthers, who might be the worst team in the NFL.
So 2-0 start, first time since 2016, so shout out to them. And the Buccaneers handling their kryptonite in the Saints.
Buccaneers been great. They've been pulling out some tough wins.
And the defense has been amazing.
Last week, they didn't even have a lot of their receivers. Yeah. Everybody was gone.
There are 5 teams that are 0-2 in the NFL right now. The Falcons, Panthers, Titans, Raiders, and Bengals. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think the Panthers and Falcons, it's expected. The Titans, we weren't high on this team. It's really between the Raiders and the Bengals in terms of which team you've been most disappointed in. And for me, I think it's the Las Vegas Raiders because this is a team that I thought the biggest question mark was going to be defensively. Right now, it's looking like offensively, that's their biggest question mark. Derek Carr has not played well up to this point in the first 2 weeks. And I attribute that to Josh McDaniels' system being difficult. There's a lot of checks at the line. Derek Carr has to master this offense. The offensive line is still bad. Derek Carr doesn't have much time in the pocket, but he's also made mistakes himself. And the defense, although it's been the best part of their team, I don't think it's that good. I think the defense is average. The Raiders blew a lead to the Cardinals. They were up 20-0. They blew that lead. I understand some of that was just Kyler being Kyler and being Houdini and making big-time plays.
Sack him for like 10 minutes.
But right now, I'm more concerned about the Raiders because they are in a division with the Chargers and the Chiefs. With the Bengals, we saw Baltimore just blow a lead. I don't trust Pittsburgh, and I don't trust Cleveland until Deshaun comes back. So the Bengals have some room for error. Where the Raiders, if they start off slow, there's no chance they can win the division or even make the playoffs in their division.
Yeah, for me, it's the Raiders because, one, I had them making the playoffs. I think I was the only one here. And two, like you said, it's that division. They have to be damn near perfect from here on out to secure a playoff spot. And I thought the biggest question mark for them would be the defense. I thought the offense was going to be one of the best groups in the league. Week 1, you saw spam alert. You know, that's not a bad thing. It's just Devontae Adams, he's the best. He's one of the best receivers in the league. When you see him, you spam the shit out of him no matter what.
He did it week 1, not week 2, though.
Yeah, week 1, get it. But I thought the offense wasn't as good week 1. I thought week 1 they were a little slow. It took a little time to get it together. Hunter Renfrow was a fucking no-show. And then week 2, like you just said, they blew the lead. I mean, Arizona, they couldn't sack Kyler Murray when they needed to. They couldn't make plays in that fourth quarter. And then in OT, the game just got away from them. So I think for me, the Raiders have been the biggest disappointment for me because I thought this was a team that was going to come out firing, be one of the best teams in the division. And they've been probably one of the worst, just blowing leads and not being good.
Real quick, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you guys. Raiders were definitely on my list. They've been terrible on both the offensive and the defensive side of things. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, as in they have Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs. But I'm not ignoring that poor offensive line, and I'm not ignoring Derek Carr and his poor play right now. But I will give him a little bit of easing off the gas on fully saying that it's his fault because the offensive line's trash, and he's one of those that does need some time. But he has the weapons. He needs to start utilizing them and start getting points on the board and not being one of the worst production-wise teams offensively.
Stephen A. Smith had a great monologue about him the other day. First time I watched it, it was pretty awesome.
And what did he say specifically?
Just very passionate. When you going to step the hell up? You Derek fucking
Last
Carr.
year, he did step up. I mean, he was one of the league leader in yards, didn't have the touchdown production because he didn't really have touchdown guys. Darren Waller was out for,
you got Waller,
I think he missed
Renfrow.
6 games last year. But now you have Tay. There's no excuse why you shouldn't be one of the more dominant offenses. And the defense has just been poor. And now Tennessee, 0-2 against the Giants and the Bills. The Bills, we can give you a little bit of slack for, but the Giants is inexcusable. They've been horrible offensively, horrible defensively, a bottom 6 team defensively. There's no excuse for this. And the lock was supposed to be Derrick Henry at the minimum. Last year, he masked a lot of their deficiencies on the offensive line where they're already terrible in pass pro, but their run blocking was not that great at all. But Derrick Henry was Derrick Henry. This season, we're seeing Derrick Henry get off to a rough start where week 1 he rushed for under 80 yards and week 2 he didn't even rush for 2 yards a carry. He got into the end zone, but in the grand scheme of things, does that really matter when you don't even eclipse 2 yards a carry? Like, I understand how great the Bills are, but that's Derrick Henry. We're never expecting him to play this poor. Sorry for just spitting on your roof. But ultimately, these two teams have been embarrassing. I did. I just spit.
No, you didn't spit on me.
Oh, okay.
You were good. I would have told you. Like, you know.
I saw it, so that's why I said
do
something.
it again. I mean, nah, don't do that.
Oh my God. I think the Raiders are too talented to be bad the whole year. I think eventually they'll be competitive, but I didn't have them as a playoff team. I thought they were the worst team in the AFC West. Tennessee, I'm concerned about. I think this is a lack of talent, truthfully. You know, I'm high on Treylon, but outside of that, Robert Woods. Treylon was really good. Robert Woods has had some moments, but he's 30 coming off a torn ACL. Derrick Henry was someone coming into the season that I was a bit worried about. Before his injury last year, his efficiency wasn't there. He comes back from a foot injury. He's 28 years old. He's a big wide receiver, a lot of carries on his body. He hasn't been fantastic to start the season. But I think the Panthers might have the number 1 pick in the draft. Baker Mayfield has come in, and he's been fucking terrible. He's averaging
Bryce Young.
He's averaging less than 200 yards a game. He's at like 57% completion percentage. He has 5 fumbles through 2 weeks. 5 fucking fumbles through 2 weeks.
Daniel Jones would never.
Yeah. Baker's been bad. If I had to choose right now, like the Falcons been competitive, right? They almost beat the Saints, they lost it.
Man,
and then the Rams, the same thing. They almost came back in the 4th, but lost it.
When are we
but
doing
right now,
the
I'm worried
Daniel
about the
Jones
Panthers.
would you rather, man?
Why are you giggling?
I'm looking at this tweet of you quoting the Wolves announcement, and you're like, great guess. And somebody commented, I think to help your knowledge, I would hope you can watch more Wolves games. Maybe you can learn something about the team. And Rev responded, I have league passes.
Yeah, I just respond. You gotta just respond to shit like that. Just like that. I have league pass, bro.
I think the Bengals, the reason why I'm a bit concerned is because more teams are using cover 2 against them, a cover 2 shell, which they're taking away big time plays. And I think last year we saw Kansas City struggle with it. This year, Cincinnati struggling with it. And this is a team that should have improved their offensive line, but their offensive line this year hasn't looked very improved. So because of that, it's a bit concerning, but I feel like Joe Burrow and company are going to figure it out. And what they have over the Titans and the Raiders is that their defense is still lights out. Like their defense is playing very, very good football. So that is a step in the right direction. Yes, it hasn't been against great offenses.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's been against terrible offenses, but what we've seen in the playoffs, what they've done to great teams, they've been able to limit them offensively. So that's why I believe in the Bengals. But there are 3 teams right now that are 0-2 that made the playoffs last season. The Titans, Raiders, and Bengals. Are all 3 of these teams missing the playoffs?
The Titans, yes. The Raiders are missing the playoffs. Do you still think the Raiders are missing?
I'm gonna go on a limb and say the Raiders and Bengals will still make the playoffs.
Do you still think the Raiders make it?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
The Bengals still have a chance, but right now, if you're telling me, do I want to pick the Bengals or Miami, like I'm starting with Miami.
Yeah, there's no way that I feel comfortable picking any of these teams right now to make the playoffs. Tennessee's look terrible,
I'm not even
both offensively and defensively. The Raiders defensively have looked shitty, and their offensive line's not good by any means. Of course, they have the weapons, but you need time in the pocket to get the ball to them. The Bengals, the biggest question mark right now because they aren't supposed to be 0-2. Should have never lost to the Steelers. Should have never lost to the Cowboys without Dak Prescott. I want to say that I think they can make the playoffs because it's just hard to count a team with that much talent out. But it's not looking pretty. I'm going to say they do make the playoffs still, though.
The Titans and Raiders, I think, missed the playoffs. The Bengals last season lost 2 games in a row multiple times, and they made the playoffs. I think the Bengals are making the playoffs because Joe Burrow ultimately is a winner.